Let's start with my alphabet, please. My U?
E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O,
What we'd like to speak with you today
Q,
is
R,
about
S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC.
This is a new
Won't you come
alphabet of
and
communication.
speak with me? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC. Won't you come and speak with me? Yes.
So from A to Z, it is an alphabet that has evolved as part of a new way of world communication. We use it every day to have conversations, to connect with people and share our experiences, and as we live our lives. And these new ways to communicate are simple, as they are amazing. Just ask any 4-year-old, or any of your kids for that matter, what their favorite app is today, and no doubt they'll tell you. So as people have embraced this new alphabet of communication, are brands keeping up with the conversation? We believe there are 2 types of languages spoken by brands today. What we call speak consumer, or speaking consumer, where traditionally the advertising and communication industry has been having a relationship between brands and consumers. And I think most of us today, when we do talk to our clients, we tend to talk about this relationship between brands and consumers. Consumers, by definition, if we want to put it very directly, are people who buy stuff. That's what we're talking about. The truth is that people today know when a brand is just speaking from a place, or if it's selling, or if it's thinking of bottom lines, and if it's thinking of shareholder values. How many of us today have walked into a client meeting and the first thing they talk to us about is shareholder value? And they have the power to reject it. People today have the power to reject it. Today, brands that only speak a language written for consumers, we feel, are misunderstood and many times ignored. The second type of brands are the ones that just speak, that don't just speak to consumers, but instead speak with people. Not consumers, people. These are the brands that speak human. These are the brands which have real conversations with people. They speak with honesty, humanity, intrigue, and humor. They speak the language of the people. Of course, it is not enough just to know this alphabet of communication, like it's not enough just to know the letters of the alphabet. It's about what you say with them. As a benchmarking for the thinking within Leo Burnett and for our brands, speaking with people, not just consumers, is at the heart of everything we try to do today. And it's not just a methodology, as we'll share with you later. We now have ways to measure how brands which speak human see direct results in their effectiveness. So what does speaking human mean for our work? Well, let me show you, let me show the next slide, please. Let's start by showing you guys the social media counter, which shows what's happening right now as people communicate around the world. So if I was to have cut this off at 5 seconds, I would have had 50,000 comments being made on Facebook, 100,000 videos had been watched on YouTube, and 2,000 iPhone apps would have been downloaded just in 5 seconds. And now we're already at 28, and you can see this is happening right now as we speak. And over 1 million text messages were sent in those first 5 seconds. This is the crazy pace we communicate at today. But with the rise of this new technology in our lives, we've also seen the rise of a lot of new questions in our industry. Questions that our clients are asking us every day. Questions like, what media are the most important to use? How are we going to get our brand in front of 500 million Facebook users? Or do we need to build a new social networking platform? How do we do it? These questions are valid, but when you think about it, they're not the most important questions to ask in the first place, because they don't focus on what should always be our number one consideration, and that is that people think of the people that we're trying to speak to. When you start with these questions about media, it's like contemplating on the individual letters of the alphabet, instead of what you're actually trying to say. So rather than focus on media and technology, which I think too often we do, our approach is to always begin our work with one simple question. What is the human purpose of a brand? A human purpose is not what a brand is or what a brand does. It's what a brand means to people. When you begin with a human purpose, it takes your focus to a new set of questions. One of them is, what do people really want from this brand? How can this brand make people's lives better? And how can this brand create ideas that people want in their lives? And what we're seeing today with a lot of great brands is that when they begin with a real human purpose, it leads to a more open and authentic relationship with people. Because their focus is on what the brand can really do, that is what really matters to people. Now, an example of this in our own work was when Canon asked us to reconnect with photographers in a new way. And we ended up creating what is now one of the fastest growing social networks of photography. But the thing is that we didn't actually begin by setting out to build a social networking platform. Just yesterday, I was with a client that asked me, I want to have a social network platform like such and such a client. On the case of Canon, that's not how we started off. Instead, we just began by asking ourselves what photographers would really add value. What would add value? And the answers were, when we did some research, was inspiration. So let's take a look at this case.
Canon EOS has a history as a leading brand of DSLR cameras. To redefine the way people interact with the brand, we saw an opportunity to not just focus on the technology of the camera, but on the creativity of photography as an art form. We began with the simple insight that great creative leaps in history haven't just come from individuals, but have come from collaborations, where people can connect and share ideas. But photography, on the other hand, is something which people traditionally create on their own. And so we built a new space for photographers as a crossroads for collaboration, the world of EOS. A multi-channel platform which houses a series of community projects to set the stage for photographers to collaborate and turn their creativity into something bigger than the sum of its parts. We began with 3 simple principles of photography. The first step was to redefine how photographers are inspired by creating new ways for them to inspire each other. To further expand photographers' creative ability, we created tutorials which give personal insights into the craft of photography through an ongoing collaboration with the growing community. We knew that more advanced photographers want to challenge their creativity, so we created a tough space called One Law, where a pro photographer sets a creative brief and judges the work entered. This gives amateurs a new channel of conversation with professionals as a way to push their creativity. As an easier challenge for beginners, we created photo chains, which are growing chains of photos where each shot inspires the next. Photographers can inspire each other by creating new links in the chains as a social way to get involved in more creative photography. Instead of exhibiting on their own, we redefine new ways for photographers to exhibit together in a community, like Photo 5, which begins with a cardboard box filled with 5 simple items. Photographers are invited to shoot each item in their own interpretation, with their collaborative effort forming the content of a real exhibition. We also took exhibiting work into the digital space by launching the People's Gallery, where photographers can create their own online exhibitions and invite people to their shows as a way of showcasing their work to inspire others. Each project acts as a different entry point to the community, involving photographers of all levels with a new purpose of creative collaboration. The real success of the platform is being defined by the community. With over 50,000 collaborating members in just 12 months, the world of EOS is one of the fastest spreading communities of photography. The platform has redefined how photographers interact by not just focusing on the technology of the camera, but on the creativity of photography as an art form, proving that the greatest form of inspiration is collaboration.
So once we had the solid purpose of inspiration, photographers began to really use it as their own purpose.
A lifetime of photography adds up to a few key seconds. These are the magical fractions.
So once we had the solid purpose of inspiration, photographers began to really use it as their own purpose. But at the same time, as we inspired beginners, we also had to connect with the higher end of pro photography, which is an important segment for Canon. And while the skill levels of beginners and pros are so different, inspiration was the universal purpose that spoke to everyone. So to involve professionals in the community, we began a new documentary series called Seconds With, which gave professionals a new way to inspire each other and promote their work, but also inspire the community of photographers at the same time. This is what we feel is a very, very powerful situation for a brand when they have a solid human purpose, because it doesn't have an endpoint. You can evolve it and build it over time as people actually use it in their day-to-day lives. There are some, we're going to give you a few clips here of the scenes from a new documentary series that we've just done for Canada.
A lifetime of photography adds up to a few key seconds. These are the magical fractions of time which professional photographers have found after decades behind the lens.
This photograph was taken in 2001 near Hebron in the West Bank in Israel. It's a picture of grieving women who were standing above the body of a young Palestinian boy that was killed the night before, allegedly by Israeli security forces.
We were making our way out into the bay, and we couldn't really see any icebergs, you couldn't really see much in front of us at all. And then in the distance you could see this slight hint of an iceberg. It was quite a magical moment. As we approached it, I was just in awe of the shape of it. To me, instantly it resembled a ship. To me it looks like it's the Titanic.
As it came down, it started to make that arch against the straight lines of the light, and I knew that there was something very special happening right then. And that little bit of disturbed water on the surface balancing the weight of the whale, I guess, in the composition was one of those moments that you really long for.
I saw it and I knew it was only going to last. It usually only lasts for a couple of minutes. So I sprinted up the beach, ran out into the water, which I couldn't have done unless it was low tide. I was thinking the whole time, please God, don't let me fall, don't let me fall, don't let me fall, because I really didn't want to waste the camera.
Every now and again you have to just stop and look to take it in, because you just get so involved in looking through a camera, it doesn't seem real. But when you take the camera down, you just get the extra dimension.
In this photograph, there is an incredible amount of emotion. It says a lot about the situation of that particular time and place. I mean, here we are, it's the height of the Second Intifada. This boy was killed fighting for his rights to nationhood.
Gosh, I must have shot thousands and thousands and thousands of images. It was once I got this image that I really thought, yeah, I've captured an important moment.
If somebody says to you, how long did it take you to take that picture? It's usually a lifetime, maybe into 1/200th of a second for the final image.
What we're really seeing today is that this type of thinking is setting a new benchmark of ideas which really live on in people's lives. Ideas we know, like 90 Plus, Gatorade Replay, Earth Hour, or B-Cycle. All ideas which have been picked up by people and that have the ability to grow and evolve. And always engaging people in new and interesting ways. How about if you take over?
Before I start, I want to make one small observation. If I may go in a sentence, stumble a little bit, because people's like, it's not my fault, it's his fault. Because he kept me out all night on Saturday and Sunday. I was practicing for this. It's also her fault. his fault, but mostly it's his fault. New York is the heart of the universe, a place with an exciting scene that is contagious, and Leo Burnett just opened an office there. And when Leo Burnett arrived there, they just didn't want to begin by just shouting about Leo Burnett, but instead, Leo Burnett wanted to listen to the people of New York. Leo Burnett wanted to engage with New Yorkers in a dialogue, in something that would add real value to the city. So we created the Leo Burnett New York office created the New York Writes Itself, which is a platform designed to connect with the people of New York and with its creative community. A platform which feeds inspiration from the streets of the city to artists, musicians, and filmmakers, turning that inspiration into amazing pieces of creativity. And how does that work? We started by creating a network of scribes in New York. Scribes kept their eyes and ears open to observe great characters, scenes that they witnessed, and things that they hear from their everyday lives in New York. Then they recorded their observations and added them to the ever-growing script, which is New York. The scripts are then made available to the New York creative community. So if you're a filmmaker, you're a musician, you're a painter, an artist, you can just read all those scripts yourself and make up anything that you want that can be part of this platform. These amazing pieces of creativity, they are conceived through collaboration with New Yorkers and the city artistic community, are then shared with all New Yorkers. Some are filmed, some are, they're going to have an event, but some are just started going out live now, and this is the first one that just came out.
If the world is a stage, there's no greater theater than the people of New York City. Whatever character you are, whichever role you play, each is as important as the next. New York is a stage that we're all a part of. New York Writes Itself, a production by the people of New York.
So as people use New York Writes Itself to connect, we also wanted to constantly update people on what is happening in New York as the scribes write their observations in. So we just launched a character, and we called him the chairman, who picks up entries from the scripts, which updates in New York each and every week. So this is a clip from the chairman.
A crowded train from Brooklyn stops in the tunnel. Two women bump into each other and they start to argue. He leans his head politely out the window and says, "Look at this." The situation peaks when the mullet lady pretends that she has a shotgun and starts firing imaginary bullets. This is New York City, America. That's a whole different place altogether. New York Writes Itself. You can't make it up.
Once a brand has established a clear human purpose, they have to live it. The way we define this in simple terms is, when you have a purpose for your brand, you have to bring that purpose to life through acts. An act is something which lives the brand purpose and creates some real value for people. An amazing example over the past year of taking human purpose and leading it wasn't actually created for a brand, but for a person who had one of the greatest human purposes in history. Mahatma Gandhi. To inspire a new generation to look at the world through Gandhi's eyes, the idea essentially took the human purpose of Gandhi and recreated it in a powerful act called the Gandhi font. The idea took Gandhi's iconic glasses and used them to create a new font in 10 different languages, sparking a conversation with over 1 billion people in India. Let's take a look at it, please. It's amazing that the Gandhi font has become something which the new generation in India is using in their lives, and in doing so, they're allowing Gandhi's beliefs to live on. But when we apply this thinking to a brand which lives their purpose, it does more than just communicate. You can feel it in everything that the brand does. People can feel it because they know that the brand is speaking their language. Employees of a brand can feel it because they have a purpose for going to work every day. It is the basic human thing that people don't want to go to work to sell soap, but they want to go to work to make people smell better. In a study of employees who believe they work for a company with a clear mission and purpose, these companies have 50% higher productivity, 44% more profit, and 13% higher retention rate. So what we see today is that these brands live their purpose with everything they do. A brilliant example of this from the past year was an idea created for Fiat. The purpose of Fiat is to create technology for the people, using technology to bring fun and playfulness into the brand. This is an example of a brand really living its purpose, not just through its product, but in every detail of what it does. Right down to this amazing idea which took what was essentially a catalog for the car and turned it into a new experience for people using mobile technology.
If you're going to be selling Fiat's most advanced car in history to the most tech-savvy generation that ever lived, you better do something outstanding. That's why to launch Punto Evo, we decided to evolve the way we present a new model and let people discover it through technology. Thus, we created Fiat Street Evo, an app which reads any traffic sign as a QR code, turning streets most innovative car catalogue in the world. We realise that QR codes are nothing but patterns that our phone can recognise to extract additional information. We can find all sorts of similar patterns in the streets of any city in the world. Traffic signs. Simply by aiming at any sign, you can find out about each new feature of the car. At the stop sign, we presented ABS brakes. At the parking sign, parking sensor. And the same thing with every other traffic sign. But it's no fun just reading a catalogue. That's why Street Evo was also a game. We hid hundreds of prizes, among them an actual punto Evo within traffic signs, and invited people to find them. First ones to come across gifts got to keep them. With a minimum budget, we created the biggest outdoor campaign in Fiat's history. In just a week, more than 1 million signs were spotted. Fans loved it, and experts too. Plus the app connected people directly with their nearest retailer via GPS. Fiat Street Evo is already the most seen catalogue in Fiat's history. It will be used as a platform for future launches all over the world, because signs will always be there, and so will Fiat.
Here's another example, a wonderful example of using today's new language of communication to create a movement. A new, fresh, and highly original way that enables people to come together and fight tyranny in the world.
Tyranny Book. Social media is a powerful tool, and we believe it can also be used for more relevant things. That is why Amnesty International Portugal created Tyranny Book. Here, instead of watching your friends, you can watch your enemies. But who are the enemies? Every world leader who has no respect for human rights.
We can still prove with our own intelligence information that he is guilty, sufficiently guilty to be able to be detained.
Here, their acts are updated as they happen. You can watch as many tyrants as you want. Become an ally with others who watch these tyrants. Exchange information, links, pictures, videos.
Nkomo has always denied that he controls dissidents.
And find out how to help. You can also invite friends from other social networks to join in. After all, the more people we have watching, the more these dictators will realize that their evil acts are not going unnoticed. Tyranny. Join. Fight. Change.
So how do we measure our fluency in these new internet